Hey, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here then welcome. My name is Maddie, and today I'll be doing a book review on Flux Destiny by Chris Moujaes. When's the last time I've done a book review? It's been a really long time, and this is my first ever audiobook review, where I specifically review an audiobook. And I don't listen to audiobooks often, but this audiobook was really good. But before we get into why I loved the audiobook to this book so much, let's talk about what the book is about first. And I'm going to take the summary straight from Goodreads because it explains it so well. Better than I could, honestly. So, Flux Destiny follows Marco and Hugo, who live in a sci-fi world, and they have powerful talents in a universe where destiny itself is a visible, controllable force. They are ordered to investigate a situation in the city of Andares where they find out that there are these creatures called cankers who are wreaking havoc on this city, so their mission is to stop them. The thing is, though, that Marco and Hugo don't really get along well as partners, but they're going to have to work together to stop these creatures from terrorizing the city. This book is also based off of a graphic novel series, so it takes place in that same universe, which I'd really like. I'd really be curious to check out these graphic novels because I'm not a huge graphic novel reader, but once in a while I'll pick one up, so I might need to try that sometime. Anyway, let's first get into everything that I liked about this book. I really want to talk about the characters first because they were the part of the book that I liked the most since I am such a character person. I love character-driven stories, and this one had a bit of that. I really like the main characters that we followed, which is Marco and Hugo. They are teenagers. They're about 17 or 18 years old, and what I loved is that these two felt like actual teenagers. I've read so many YA books where the teenagers aren't really written as teenagers really well, so I really appreciated that these two acted like teens, and the way they spoke was like believable to how I would think a teen would sound, which means they did have that little bit of immaturity that teenagers have at a young age before they start to mature properly, and I actually like that though because it made them seem a lot more realistic. I did like the relationship between Marco and Hugo. There's a lot of animosity between them, but there was also a lot of hilarious banter between them. Their conversations were just so funny. They would make a lot of witty comments to each other, just like telling each other off. I think the concept of two characters who bicker a lot and them having to work together to complete a mission is very interesting because it can cause for a lot of problems while doing the mission because you have two people who don't really get along all that well. So it was really interesting to see them come together to try to save this city, even though sometimes they aren't on the best terms. Something that really stood out to me about this one is the descriptive settings. The settings were always described in such great detail that I was really able to visualize where the characters at, the world that they were in. And I feel like with a sci-fi novel like this, descriptive settings are really needed. And this book used all the right words and details that made me visualize what was going on. And going along with how detailed the descriptions were, one thing I noticed is that when the settings were being described, that's when the writing would really stand out. There was a lot of sentences and phrases when it came to describing settings and characters that just flowed so well and kind of sounded poetic sometimes. There would be a lot of words that I would have never thought to use that really made the sentences flow in such a unique way. This book was so captivating to listen to because of that. Now, what I really want to talk about is the audiobook itself. So, the biggest reason I wanted to check out this audiobook is because it's actually narrated by one of my favorite voice actors, and that is Todd Haberkorn. He is an anime English dub voice actor, and I've seen a lot of anime that he voices, so I'm very familiar with his voice. So when I heard that he was narrating this audiobook, I just had to check it out. Even though sci-fi is not my go-to genre, it's a genre that I don't read a lot of. It's kind of out of my comfort zone. I really wanted to listen to it to hear his voice and how he would sound narrating an audiobook. And he narrated this audiobook so well. I think the concept of taking an actual voice actor whose voice video games and shows, and having them narrate an audiobook is a really good idea because voice actors have a lot of experience voicing different characters, and that really showed in this audiobook because there are a pretty big cast of characters in this book, and he had a different voice for every single one of them. So it really made it easy for me to distinguish which character was talking, and it gave each character their own personality too, since they all had different voices. And another thing I really appreciate is when a character was, whispering or yelling, his voice would actually yell or whisper, making it seem more realistic. At times it felt like I was listening to the audio of an actual movie because the voices sounded so real to how they were being described. So I feel like the audiobook really made this story for me, and I find it so cool that one of my favorite voice actors narrated an audiobook, and I'm hoping like more voice actors take up the opportunity to narrate audiobooks because I would listen to that in a heartbeat. Like when I first heard Todd Haberkorn was narrating this audiobook, I'm like, yeah, I want Hikaru and Death the Kid to tell me a story. That would be so cool, and that's what happened, and I really enjoyed that about this book. There's only one negative I do have about this book, and it's just a personal thing. Because sci-fi is so out of my comfort zone, it was kind of hard to get into this book at first because with sci-fi it's really hard for me to visualize and understand all the technical things that goes into it, and I don't think that's the book's fault, it's just me. I wish I could understand, technology and sci-fi worlds better, but I try and it just doesn't happen. But I definitely will not fault the book for that. It's just a personal problem that I have. But I do think that sci-fi lovers and sci-fi readers will enjoy this one because I think a lot of parts of this world were very interesting, and I can definitely see young sci-fi readers enjoying this one, so I would highly recommend that you check it out. I gave it 4 stars, so it has my seal of approval. This audiobook was sent to me, so I want to give thanks to the author and publisher for sending me this book and giving me the opportunity to check it out and review it. Flux Destiny will be released in audiobook format on June 12th, which I think is about a week from now, or a little less than a week. So I'll leave the link to the pre-order link for it below. All the information on it will be there. So that is it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below for more bookish related videos and anime videos, and I'll be back really soon. Bye!